Now, he graduated in 77 and received his DA award just 20 years later in 97. I warmly invite Dr. Subra Suresh on stage to address the gathering.
So I first of all apologize for being overdressed for the occasion. I have some other events this afternoon after this before I go to the airport, so I came for this. It would have been fun to not to be overdressed for this particular occasion. I was asked to say a few words. I've spoken enough at this the last few days, so I'll keep my comments very brief. I was asked to say a few things about my remembrances from 36 years ago, or 41 to 36 years ago on IIT Madras campus, and also a couple of reflections from my most recent jobs in the US. Going back to my time at IIT Madras, it's really remarkable to see how things have changed. Even given the way the world has evolved in 36 years, the way the IIT campus has evolved has been quite dramatic. And I've been fortunate enough to come periodically to visit the campus, so I've seen the evolution. One of the remarkable things that I cherish from the stay at IIT in the 1970s was the opportunity to have that time to take long walks, to reflect on various things without any disturbances. Since leaving IIT, I've never had the luxury. And at a time when I want to say this in a positive way, all our lives are so hectic, and as wonderful as mobile devices are, they also take a lot of your time. So one of the real luxuries of a place like IIT that I remember vividly, especially given the beauty of this campus, is the fact that you not only studied, you not only kept up with the rat race of exams, periodical exams and competition and so forth, but you actually had time to form friendships. One of my classmates is sitting here, Raja Vaidyanathan, and I met him. I'm seeing him for the first time after 36 years today. And he and I used to ride our bikes together on campus. And that luxury, that opportunity to think and reflect on, not only on the subject, but also on so many other things about life, is very, very precious. I wish I had that opportunity now in various jobs. Given the pace of life that we all have, that luxury doesn't exist. But a campus like this can actually create this. And this was also the theme of some of my comments yesterday. Science and engineering, innovation, excellence doesn't necessarily have to mean that we have to give up other wonderful things in life. And this campus, more than anything else, provides an opportunity, given the natural beauty of this campus, to do this. Fast forward to the last 3 years, I've had the very good fortune to work with President Obama and also members of his leadership team in Washington, D.C. in the last 3 years. And what lesson have I learned out of this experience? The biggest lesson I learned was impact in careers, and I want to say this especially for the new graduates, comes in many different forms. You can do a PhD, you can become a scientist, you can have a huge impact on several generations of students that you mentor and nurture, and they become almost like a member of your family, and you keep in touch with them. So I have students in more than 100 students and postdocs in so many different countries. And not only do I know them, I know their families, I know their children, I know my students' and that's a really wonderful feeling. That's one type of impact that people who go into academia have. A completely different type of impact is like the distinguished alumnus award recipient just a few minutes ago. You can excel in science and research. You can found companies. You can create products which have a huge impact on a global scale. And that's a great, and IIT Madras alumni have done wonderfully well in that arena. But the lesson I learned in the last 3 years is there is yet another arena where perhaps IIT Madras alumni have not had an opportunity, either in India or on a global scale, to participate. That's in the policy arena. Whether you take, whatever grand challenge you take, whether it's climate change, poverty relief, etc., etc., the impact of technical contributions, the impact of financial success can be significantly enhanced when that's coupled with the impact of the correct policies that are articulated to the right audience and implemented in the right way. And one of the, as bad as politics is in every country, and having to deal with especially the inconvenience of democracy, which chugs along slowly in India, in the US, and in many other places. One of the remarkable things that I personally learned, perhaps I should have known this before, is the fact that there are so many talented people who make enormous personal sacrifices to advance a cause with a lot of frustrations, but eventually, even if half of them prevail, that changes the world in a very significant way. And running into people like this, which I never realized until I actually went to Washington, was a great learning experience for me. And the impact of the right policies with persistence and a lot of hard work can be quite profound. So for some of the younger graduate students in the audience, or younger graduates in the audience, one of my requests would be that please don't ignore the potential impact of policy in changing society. And nothing prepares you better than an IIT education. Thank you very much.
I request the Director, Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy, to present a memento to Mr. Suresh. The Director will now deliver the annual State of the Institute address and take a few questions in the end.
I'm not going to deliver any address. I've also had enough of delivering addresses. So thank you very much for having me today, and also very grateful to both Sailesh for, he missed the Institute Day, but making the effort to come here today and receive the DA award from us. This function. This is also a very nice, cozy function. And also I'd like to thank Professor Suresh. He's been here for the last 3 days in IIT. He first spoke in this very room on the topic of science engineering and the sort of global changes that are occurring in the science and technology arena. The room was filled beyond capacity. Then I think he spent whole half a day in the mechanical engineering department yesterday. And then of course we had the fantastic convocation address, and he received the honoris causa degree. He's come back today for this function. It's, given the fact that he's just taken over as the president of CMU on July 1st. In fact, one journalist asked me, how did you get in for 3 days? I said, well, this promise was made when he was probably had I don't know whether the job, NSF director's job was hotter seat than president of CMU. Anyway, last year when I requested him, he said, yeah, I'll come, but I'll actually come for a few days. So, unfortunately, he was able to stay with that, though he just transitioned to this new job. We'd like to wish him all the very best in this new assignment, and I'm sure CMU will go great places. And I'm already wondering what will happen for whatever 4, 5, 6 years from now, whatever it is, where he will go next. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm sure it will be to an even better and finer assignment. Regarding the institute, I think yesterday at the convocation I gave a brief glimpse of where we are heading in various directions. Some of it is something that some of the changes or the increase or the improvements, the growth has been in directions in which we have wanted to go and planning to go somewhere, sort of decided for us. For example, the rapid capacity expansion. We were always expanding our capacity. You know, this institute, the student strength institute went from 3,000 odd to about 5,000 in the 10 years. From about 1995 to about 2005. But then in 2008, there was a decision to increase it by 50% very rapidly. So that was, we took it in our stride, and we're still coping with that. The infrastructure takes longer to get in place, but we're finally getting it all together. Faculty are also being added, and that will take even longer time, but we are on course. By about 2016 or 17, I think we'll have all the faculty that we would like to have handle the larger size of the institute. At the same time, the research intensity has been growing tremendously. Reflected both in terms of the amount of money spent, in all, reflected in all manners, the amount of money spent, the amount of the equipment we have, and most importantly, the number of research scholars and number of research projects taken on campus. We saw a couple of examples today of the kind of work. The work, sort of covers all the streams of research, as you want to call that. We do a fair amount of for its own sake kind of research, just searching for new results, searching for new insights, and publishing them. We do a fair amount of research that is intended to make a dent, make an improvement in industry, or in some capacity in the country, whether it's in space or nuclear or whatever. And increasingly, we do a fair amount of research which is aimed at making significant and fairly immediate impact on the problems that are facing our society. The kind of thing you saw in the housing technology, but then there are many others. Yesterday I mentioned about the water purification, completely passive, no electricity method that is being deployed this year in about 2,000 communities in West Bengal, which has a severe problem with arsenic contamination, and so on. There are many other examples. I don't want to spend time here. Mostly the faculty and the students decide what they want to do. Some focus entirely on the sort of research for research's sake kind of approach. Some do a lot of work in industry. Some are very keen to do something like this in either education, transportation, water, housing, telecom, whatever it is. And actually, many people actually do more than one kind of work. So this is for some of you in the audience who are alumni from earlier days, much earlier days, this would be something that's a big change from your time. Of course, because of the number of people as well as the intensity, we are running out of space. Everything is now tighter. We are trying to manage without using up more virgin land, which means we are going taller buildings, which of course means more energy intensity. But we're also trying to now bring in solar power and so on. Even as I speak now, in the next 2 months, we are completing the installation of 1 megawatt of solar photovoltaic power. But more importantly, it's not just being put there and just being fed into our grid here, and we just our appetite for energy just keeps on increasing every year. But what we are trying to do is actually bring in a lot of other innovations. Energy efficient PC appliances and so on, and experimenting a lot with how we can make a small amount of energy go much further, small amount of power go much further than we used to. So there is a serious effort on all these fronts, and we are also working hard now to treat our own water. We've been doing a bit of that, but that's now the amount of water treatment that we're doing has now become a small part of the water we consume, so we're going to now expand that capacity significantly. The idea would be to use as much of the water that comes into our campus at least twice before we send it out. So this is sort of the change in flavor. I wanted, by giving you a few glimpses, I wanted to try to convey to you that there is a change in approach which has taken place partly, as I said, on its own, partly because that's where we wanted to go, but also partly because of changes that have been have come in from the outside and we've been asked to take on. There is a lot more emphasis from the public, from the government, and from the institutions that exist in our country for accountability. We are now, when we run an institution, when we run the hostels, when we run the messes, we are much, I mean, it's not as if there wasn't accountability in say 20 or 30 years ago, but the way in which this accountability was, the way in which the responsibility was handed over, the way in which the accountability was enforced was different. Now, both the institutions and the press and everybody are quick to the trigger. So we have to actually, have not only carry responsibilities properly, but we have to be seen to be doing so. For example, there's a lot of talk of B2B and acetaldehyde in the blood and so on. It's all very fine. I can also appreciate it, but as the head of the institution, actually, I should be jumping right now because it's illegal on the campus, and I'm supposed to make sure that doesn't happen. You can't drink in Indian campuses. You can't drink. It's against the law. Okay, so I'm bound to enforce the law. You can say there are so many laws that we wink at. Well, it's true, but let's say something happens tomorrow. Anything can happen. Something happens, and then all hell will break loose. The law will be quoted, and usually nowadays the way it works is first they take you in, and then they start asking you questions. So I'm not sure I'm scared, but I'm just saying that that's the way it is. So I think some of the changes that our the person student spoke alluded to, they are actually not. It's not that we are we want to bring down the necks of students. In fact, that's hardly the intention. Given any choice, we withdraw even more. But there are certain responsibilities that we have taken on, and we have to enforce, and we have to therefore take some steps. And partly the numbers increasing, the density of students increasing, all of that adds to the difficulties. And we have to therefore do certain things. We have to keep somewhat of a tighter watch. We have to come down on certain types of activities. These are unavoidable. Basically, I would say there is no choice here. The country is moving towards a more rule-bound way of living. It's happening in every sphere. Today, you're reading about the noon meal scheme disaster in Bihar. Of course, if you think about the children and all that, you have one response. But think of yourself. Suppose you were in the management committee of a school, and you were providing you were charged with the responsibility of providing the meals. What would you do? You would probably be thinking, is there any way I can pull out the responsibility? Because, let's face it, anything can happen. So you have to put, the other thing is then you have to put in all the checks and balances to make sure these kind of things don't happen. What happened, of course, looks like it was terrible because of the huge amount of poison, but other things can happen. Some foreign object can be found in the meals. 30 years ago, they had just taken it out. If they trusted the management, they had said, well, these things happen, and then they go. Today, it's very different. So it is very tricky, and therefore, this is the way we are moving. And a lot of what happens to us, whether we are students or whether we are faculty, whether we are the RTI and so on, whether we are administrators, a lot of it is governed by the way the country is moving. Some of it is in the right direction because you have to have accountability, but I think we are reacting to all these changes around us. And but nevertheless, it's very important for us to keep focus on on moving ahead, getting more of the good things done. So in the student sector, we really want to make sure that we have a large number of undergraduates now. We want to make sure that we give as much opportunity as possible for them to blossom in different ways. When you have 800 instead of 200, there must be obviously a need for different things for different people. It can't be the same small set of opportunities or solutions that worked for the people earlier. We have to provide as much diversity as possible in what students can do, apart from their academics. So that's something we are trying to worry about. There are so many research scholars, we have to be concerned about that. What, they spend, the PhD students spend 4 to 5 years here. So what do they do, apart from their, because they do spend a lot more of their time in the laboratory, but still. So we have to be concerned. The faculty also is a new generation of faculty. They are much more mobile, they lead much more hectic lives. They teach, they consult, they go outside, they collaborate. So everything is changing, and our aim is to try to respond to make it possible for all these people to be as productive as they can be, and as innovative and as diverse as they can be. At the same time, as I told you, the floodlights and searchlights are on us, and we have to be careful. We have to make sure that we are accountable and seem to be accountable. So that's really all I wanted to say, and I prefer to take questions.
Thank you, sir. The Student Secretary for International and Alumni Relations, Jitin Sam Varghese, will now deliver the vote of thanks. Immediately following, the air-conditioned classroom complex will be inaugurated. The 72nd batch has sponsored the air conditioning, and batch representatives will be present on the occasion. We invite you all to attend the ceremony. Lunch follows immediately in the ICSR dining hall.
So rather than starting with the customary ladies and gentlemen on this closer to home occasion, so I'd like to start by seniors, batch of 2013, and all of the members of the IIT Madras family. Thank you for being a part of this powerful intellectual gathering. So IIT Madras has always stood for excellence, nurturing growth, and mentorship has always been an integral part of our institute culture. We express our gratitude to Dr. Subra Suresh, batch of 77, our esteemed chief guest, for his address. Impact is what each of us strive to make. We come nearest to the great, and we are great in humility, said Rabindranath Tagore. So I thank Professor Suresh who sang testimony to the statement, despite his numerous achievements, as I've experienced in the past 3 days while receiving his help. We the juniors have a lot to learn from him. Our beloved director, Dr. Bhaskaramurthy, has shown us how IIT Madras can grow to the best and the biggest technical institute in the country. Dear batch of 2013, it is not just our duty. It is more like our solemn, sovereign thing to go about and not just leverage the brand which our predecessors sitting before us made. We should add to it. So let us not only become great in our corporate career, become like great academicians or researchers. Let us cure the trust deficit which our director was talking about, which is existing in our society. We'd like to thank the 87 batch, the 88 batch for their continual commitment towards elevating the standards of the institute. I hope that we ensure the same for Alma Mater and are able to lead by example through our contributions. I'd also like to thank Gautam sir and the treasurer of IIT for their support towards this function. I'd like to thank the GEMS team and the IIT Executive Committee for their support. I'd like to thank Professor Devdas Venu, batch of 1994, Dr. Ashwin Mahalingam, batch of 98, Professor K. Ramurthy, Dean CADS, batch of 85-91, and I'd like to thank Dr. Mahesh Panjagnula, batch of 92, for organizing the upcoming C5 tour, which will be scheduled from 2 p.m. And Mr. Thiru of Research Park. Both the functions will be held after lunch, so it would be really great if you could stay back. Our volunteers will be escorting you. We once again sincerely appreciate the effort of the batch of 2013 for the generous donation. 200 students, a remarkable achievement for the first time ever. And we're sure that their contributions will benefit the institute greatly. Professor Nagarajan, Suresh sir, Magaran sir, and the OAA team were instrumental in organizing this function. They were exceptionally enthusiastic in bringing students as a part of this event. You may have noticed a lot of students eagerly running around, and there were the hostel secretaries, there was the alumni block team, and there were the hostel coordinators. So we'd request you to please leave your cards at the registration desk where you registered if you're interested in contributing towards the alumni blog. Because it's an initiative which we've taken for the first time, which Padma and team are a part of. So what we are looking to do is we're looking to create a brand for IIT Madras through this blog and connect the students and alumni, a connection which is missing to a great deal. So finally, I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your participation. Hope you all had a wonderful alumni day. Thank you.